Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Game Center 40 for Tuesday, February 4th, 2020. And here are tonight's top stories. Fans are angry after a monthly pass is finally being instituted for one of Nintendo's mobile games, Fire Emblem Heroes. Though it doesn't look like the monthly subscription model might be a good choice for the company instead of the nickel and diming loot boxes. So fans are now angrier than ever that a game that has more ways of getting your hard-earned money. The new FEH Pass brings new features and offers new perks. But those features and perks access will set you back about $10 a month. The pass has been tried out with two of Nintendo's other mobile titles, and it was very successful. This description, should you choose to waste $10 per month, will arrive tomorrow. YouTube finally rolls out a new disinformation policy as the 2020 political election season kicks off to a rough start. Although the policy doesn't add or take away anything from the guidelines, it does outline some things that may be interpreted as going too far, such as a deliberate incorrect election date, taking clips out of context, and videos with an intent to suppress voters. Channels that impersonate other channels or actual people will also be interpreted as going too far. The site says that it's going to share some more information in the next couple of months. Spotify Premium was initially supposed to be an ad-free space, but KFC of Arabia managed to get themselves in through a couple local artists. And it also boldly proclaimed itself to be the first ever campaign on the Spotify Premium. Boldly proclaimed itself as the first campaign ever on Spotify Premium. Although the campaign had some funny song titles, they ultimately spelled out a promotional sandwich, and the hack has since been undone. DeNA will be terminating servers for a couple of its mobile phone games at the end of March. Fantasy Earth Genesis and Torikago scrapped March. And the upcoming 2.1.4 update will be the final update ever released for Torikago scrap March. Coming up next on Game Center 40, NIS America announces a PAX appearance. We once again find new trademarks for a game, and a game will finally exit early access. Bandai Namco is reaching back into the hat of Namco's past and pulling out the letter T. The company has trademarked Namcot and Namcot Collection for use in future games. Namco previously used the Namcot name for the home console market in Japan during the 80s and 90s. In the same period, those same games were given to different distributors in America and Europe before finally being given to Namco Home Tech in America. Yes, America announced that they'll be at PAX 2020 in Boston. There's demo stations, prizes, and the secret new game they're bringing for the convention, as well as the Brain Arcade. And those who got early access to Dreams on the PlayStation 4 will be able to get the full game a few days early with some new updates and creation tools. Tutorials and how-tos on some new user interfaces. Now, all of this will be available to those that purchased it in early access. And it will be released on February 11th, while everybody else will get the game on February 14th. I think it's time we all took a look at the weather for the downtown Dover area. While the video is starting to drop a lot of frames here. Time for the whole condition. And it looks like it's going to be a lot warm. Not as warm as the ocean is also starting to come in. So let's take a look at what the weather will be all around the country tonight. And we have some highs all around Minnesota and the Rockies and all the way down west. Seems is still getting a bit of snow up in northern Idaho and eastern Washington, northeast Oregon, and everything else west of that will be swamped with rain, and everything south of that is completely dry until you get to West Texas, where it's a mix of rain and snow. Got that cold front extending all the way into Mexico through Texas, and this is our winter. We've heard of the winter storm Kaede here, and winter storm Kaede will be shifting all of that rain and all that snow towards us all the way throughout tonight. Let's take a look at tomorrow's weather. And winter storm Kaede isn't letting us stop. It'll be delivering 1-2 punches of rain all throughout the mid-Atlantic, the South, and all through Texas. And that big rain patch has just gotten bigger. And we still got the high pressure all around the Midwest here. Now let's see what's going to happen for tomorrow night. The winter storm isn't letting up, but it doesn't know whether it wants to go north or it wants to go south, but it definitely might not want to go east. And all it does, it's going to stall right there. It's stalling. All it's going to do is stall. Let's take one more look out at Rehoboth Beach right now. Basically, it's calm, it's cloudy, but not only that, it's 62 in Dover and its suburbs. We had a high temperature of 66 today. Low temperature this evening is going to be 40 degrees. The barometer, it's rising from 29.81 inches. The humidity is at 59%. I'm glad we got these stats just before we went to air. The winds are going northeast at 3 miles an hour. And if there's one thing I usually forget to check, it's the weather pictures. But it doesn't look like I need. But it doesn't look like I need to update this one because guess what? Night's fair early, showers late, and I didn't need to change the picture for it. I guess time must be a jokester to me today. I completely forgot to do the pictures. I completely forgot to change the pictures, and I didn't need to do it tonight. And it looks like I didn't need to do it for tomorrow either, because even though it's going to show some cloudiness, AM showers, PM overcast, high of 48. Sunrise tomorrow at 7:05, and the sun will set at 5:27. And I guess I need to change some up for our 7-day forecast because at least three pictures on this next one is completely incorrect. Because on Wednesday we'll have AM showers. You saw it. Thursday it'll be rain, and Friday it'll also be rain, but only in the morning. Saturday it'll be partly cloudy, even though the picture displays that it's fully cloudy. On Sunday we'll have rain in the morning, and we'll have rain and snow mix in the morning. But the picture, I never changed them, but I guess this is what happens when you forget stuff. Monday will be partly cloudy, and next Tuesday we're going to have a bunch of showers. And when we come back on Game Center 40, Famitsu's got its own price release, and we managed to nab it just in the nick of time. Stay with us. Managed to nab it just in time. Stay. January was a good time to be a gamer, especially when it's the post-Christmas season. And for the gaming companies, it was a good time to rake in all that cash before the well runs dry for another 6 months. Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, despite the hate train generated last year, garnered 362 174 units in sales this January, pushing it even further into its multi-million unit territory. Second place was Yakuza 7, almost 200,000 units. Third place was Ring Fit Adventure with almost 127,000 units. And fourth was Bandai Namco's latest Dragon Ball Z game, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, with 115,000 units. And taking the bottom spot in fifth place is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with 87,600 units. And now we go to hardware sales. These numbers combine the sales of every version of the hardware, including, in the Nintendo Switch's case, the Nintendo Switch Lite, and for PlayStation 4, they also combine the sales of the regular PS4 and the PS4 Pro. And so let's take a look at the sales. There's only two. First place is the Nintendo Switch with 565,573 units, and the PS4 takes second place with 78,258 units for the month of January. Game makers are not out of the woods yet, but this lineup is actually a bit surprising because without the second place winner, it would actually look like the 90s all over again for January. In first place is Nintendo with 785,000 units of software sold in the month of January. Second place is Pokemon with 379,000 units of software. And in third place is Sega Games with 307,000 units. Before the fiscal year ends, we will be seeing a lot more games, and next month we'll tell you how well they did. February will be the fountain before the drought. And when we come back, SpaceX finally going to launch another rocket halfway up into space. And finally tonight, SpaceX is wanting to bring another rocket halfway into space. It's a test that is detailed in the paperwork that SpaceX has filed with the Federal Communications Commission, asking for special authority to communicate with its second generation rocket while it flies 12.5 miles from the sky, halfway into space. It'll take off at Boca Chica, Texas, and it will be used to connect in. We'll also send data to both the Air Force and NASA. The company is requesting to fly as early as March 16th. Date to perform the high altitude flight being as late as September 16th. And that is all for Game Center for you tonight. I'd like to thank you for being with us. Coming up next is the streaming segment on Twitch.tv. The link will be in there for a few minutes. Those leaving, thanks for being with us.